Hit the record. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Zizo Aku. I am the incoming chapter president for ATD Central Florida. And it is a pleasure to, kick off this session today. And we have the privilege to have Myra Roldan, who is going to be talking to us today about ID fundamentals to driving innovation. Myra like I said, it's a privilege to actually get to meet with her. I'm meeting with her for the first time, but she's a technologist who brings a unique mix of technical, business, and adult education expertise to the game. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Myra. Myra, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you for joining me also. So I'm going to ask you if we can unmute everyone because I want you guys to be able to pause and ask questions. I want to do a quick introduction here. I'm going to put a timer on because we're only going to spend about 10 minutes on this. If you go to menti.com either on your phone or on your computer and just do a split screen so you have my screen and the Menti screen just like in the corner, enter the code 9908445 and you're going to be able to follow along with my slides, and you'll notice that you'll have the ability to like the slide, send a chat, and add some discussion. So what I would like you to do, I want to make sure that this is working. If you guys can just like this slide, go to menti.com, enter 9908. Thank you so much. I love that. Also, for those of you that are not on video right now, I may ask that you come on video just for a split second. Once we do, we're going to do a fun activity. So again, stick with menti.com and the code is 9908. I'm going to put that in the chat here. Because you'll be able to use, once you're connected to this, you'll be able to interact with my slides. There's some voting that's going to go on. We're going to do a SWOT analysis. And so as Azizo mentioned, my name is Myra Roldan. I'm a program manager at Amazon, and we're going to be talking about driving innovation, and we're going to do that by being collaborative. And I want you to really think outside of your box. I'm going to try and take you out of your comfort zone a little bit to have you really think about yourself as an instructional designer. So let's get started. Let's see if I can move my slides. So here's my hello slide. So we're going to be talking about superpowers. We'll start off with that. So my superpower is making tech easy to understand. So I'm going to be asking you what your superpowers are, but I also want you on your Zoom, if you click on the drop down from your video, you're going to get a menu, and I want you to select a video filter that will actually portray your superpower. So I'm going to put my superpower on right now. So that's my superpower. I think I might want to change it. Hold on. I like this one better. So I want you to use your filters to figure out your superpower. But what I want you to do right now is I want you to join in here. So if you go to menti.com and you enter the code, I want you to enter your name and your superpower and share that with us right now. So take them to do that. And then I want you to put on your video filter using a filter that represents your superpower. I want to see those filters going up too.
How do we do the filters?
So if you go to your video where it says video, there's a little drop down, arrow drop down. If you click on that, you're going to see choose video filter.
I don't have that option.
You don't have that option on your Zoom? Okay, sounds like you guys have to update your Zoom. Okay.
I wonder if it's like a Mac limitation?
No, I'm on a Mac. It's actually, you have to update your version of Zoom. your desktop version. That's fine. I'll be the superhero today. Okay, so we have one person who has sent in their superpower. Do you guys not have superpowers? This is interactive, guys, and I can see when you're participating. I give you guys 2 more minutes. Okay, so Zaylene says, make complex ideas easy to understand. Tracy is facilitating content for a diverse audience. That's a real superpower. Jen is enablement. So join menti.com and enter the code that's in the chat if you're just joining us to share your name and your superpower. Ziesel, what's your superpower? Vicky is making concepts and processes simple.
Mine is driving, you know, that's good. I was thinking about that for a minute because I do mainly leadership development. So I would say providing leaders with the tools to, you know, excel in the job.
Okay, I like that. So you should put it on our board. Go to menti.com and enter the code. All right, Elizabeth is connecting others with no video filters. That's fine. Like I said, I'll be the one with the video filters today. You guys get to enjoy all my nonsense with filters because they're my favorite thing. Okay, let's see. Barry, what's your superpower? Okay, you got ideation. I like that. All right, great. Thank you so much for offering this. So when you think about your superpowers, right, this is what enables you to drive innovation. And Marcela, complex topics made simple. I love that, right? So your superpower is something that you can leverage to drive innovation in an organization. I think that as instructional designers, we tend to think about driving innovation just within our sphere of work, within our just body of work. And so I think that thinking beyond that is really important. If you can look at how you can leverage your superpowers to drive innovation, that's the first part of the first piece of the puzzle, right? For those of you who are just joining, we have a link up in the chat, menti.com, and a code for you to enter. We're asking you to share your name and your superpower. So I want to read the last, Melissa just shared her unicorn magic, turning bullet points into meaningful learning experiences. That is a huge superpower also, because we all know that we do this death by bullet points, right? So I'm going to give just 1 more minute for those who have joined to join and share their superpower, because I will share this slide deck with you guys afterwards, and I want to make sure I capture everyone here. So you have 1 minute. If you go to menti.com and enter the code 9908445, you'll get access to the slides where you can interact with me. This is an interactive session. Okay, so as people are joining, let's move on because I want to make sure that we get to the real collaborative piece. We're going to be using a collaboration board. So Sierra said patience. That's a huge one. How many of you suffer from impatience? I do. Okay, let's move to the next slide here. So now what I want you to do is, so we've identified your superpower, right? Your superpower can help you to drive innovation, but it's also important to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are when you're thinking about driving innovation. So we're going to do a quick SWOT analysis, and this is going to be an interactive SWOT analysis also. I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes to do this exercise, and then we'll move on to our next collaboration platform. So again, you're going to go to menti.com, and you're going to enter the code 9908445, and you're going to see a sliding scale. And what I want you to do on that sliding scale is I want you to define where you are as far as your strength and weakness on each of these different competencies, right? On these different skills. So really think about it, right? Like, you don't have to be an expert at everything. That doesn't mean being an expert doesn't doesn't make you an innovator, right? So there's this book called Range, and I'll put the book name and I'll find the link to it. So I invite you guys to read this book. It's called Range, and it talks about how generalists tend to succeed a little bit more in life than specialists. So think about like a Tiger Woods who has a very specialized skill set. Tiger Woods knows how to golf, right? Tiger Woods does not know much else beyond golf, right? He's been golfing since he was a baby, but you can't put him in a business setting and expect him to succeed because his golf skills don't translate. So I want you guys to, for those of you who are joining, we're using, you can do this on your phone or on your computer. Go to menti.com and enter code 9908445. And I want you to rate your competencies across these skills. So you'll see a sliding scale here. And I see that, I like to see this, right? So I see that a lot of you are saying that you're high on business skills. I'm going to give us a few more minutes. My alarm just went off. I see that teaching and training, design and development is another high skill. Project management. I see that emerging tech is low on the scale. And we have 6 votes so far. 8, okay, cool. And again, guys, as you are interacting with these, you can leave comments on these slides too, and we'll be able to go back to some of these comments. So you can comment at the bottom. I can, this is where I can show you. I'll be able to see the comments that are posted on the slide. So feel free to comment also if you have any feelings on this. Okay, I see that there's a trend going on. Do you see how we're trending differently here? So training, teaching and training, we're really rating high. Project management, we're rating high, followed by needs analysis and business skills. Those are neck and neck right now. So when you think about, this isn't something that is new. I normally see this trend whenever I speak to instructional designers. And thank you for the comment. Yeah, Range is an excellent read. So I will put that down as your action assignment, is to read the book Range. I will share a link to that book. That book talks about how generalists can succeed as opposed to someone who's like a specialist, right? So it's okay to be a generalist. I consider myself a generalist. I know a little bit about a lot of things and much about nothing. Which makes me the best generalist, because I have no ego about knowing everything. Okay, guys, so I'm going to be sharing these slides with you with the results, so you guys can have them and analyze them on your own and probably try to figure out, you know, like, do things change for you over time? Would you rate yourself differently? All right. So when we think about our positions in business in general, right? We really need to, this is one of my favorite quotes from Move the Needle. Move the Needle, excuse me, is just a website that they talk about, like, how can we drive innovation? And just kind of, there's some blog posts about like what's important to be able to drive innovation. What does that really mean? And I always talk about having this strategic alignment with business. And if you guys listen to any podcasts I've been on, any sessions I've done, I always really push for this, for like having alignment with business to be able to drive innovation, because otherwise you're just doing these random acts of innovation that don't have any clear tie to anything, right? You're just like, and let me give you an example. I've been in VR since 2006. When I was first pitching VR to corporations, a lot of them were just like, we need something new and innovative. We want the most groundbreaking thing for our organization, for our training. And they weren't thinking larger picture. So they were just thinking of VR as a random act of innovation, right? And our job is to really help the business think about, how do they create a strategic plan for the implementation so it can go beyond training, right? So for the VR example, it's like, okay, so we can use VR to train people, but we need to train them on specific tasks. And let's get meta and let's train them through VR on how to use VR or AR in the workplace, right? So it worked great with technicians who were on the job and fixing different equipment. We can train them in VR on highly expensive equipment, and then we used AR on the devices so they could use AR to access like manuals and stuff, so they can apply what they learned in the training. So then the innovation wasn't random, right? It had a purpose. So when you think about there's a lot of future trends that are coming out there, and there's a lot of things that executives are looking at, and they do approach it with a strategy. However, they don't always know what every team is working on. And so it is your responsibility and your job to help them understand where you can add value. And that's one thing that I always hear from instructional designers is saying, well, I don't have a seat at the table. And you have to carry your seat over and put it at the table and sit right next to them and tell them, like, this is what we can do. This is how we can align to the business. This is the impact that we can have. Okay, so now our next activity is we're going to look at future trends. We're going to be moving to a different platform. And this platform, I'm going to put a link in the chat in a minute. And what I want you guys to do, you won't have to sign in or anything. You'll just be able to click on the link. I'm going to put it in the chat. So I want you guys to all join me here. You may have to enter, it may ask you to enter your name. You don't have to register. And we're going to be playing in this free space here. Let me summon you all. Oops, hold on. I don't want to talk to you guys. I'm already talking to you guys. Let me summon you all so you can all be here. And I'm going to have you, my cursor is being broadcast, and congratulations, you have joined me on the board here. So what I want you to do is, this is a collaborative platform. So I want you to start by trying to add a sticky note. So just double click your mouse and add a sticky note. I want you to resize that sticky note. I want you to try to recolor that sticky note, play around with it, because we're going to be using these sticky notes throughout this interaction. So go ahead and play around. You can move the sticky note around. Sticky notes are really important. This is what we're going to be using for the activity we're going to do today. So you can also double click in the sticky note and type. So try typing something in your sticky note. And if you're putting sticky notes over someone else's sticky note, move your sticky notes. And we should be able to help each other out. Okay, great. All right, thank you so much for interacting with us. So we're going to be using this. The other thing we're going to be using is there is a star icon. And if you click on that star icon, you're going to get some of these icons, and you can use any icon you want in your sticky note also to add emphasis to the text that you put in the sticky note. So I want you guys to try that very quickly. All right, I love this. Great job. All right. So give you a few more seconds to do this. All right. Okay, so now let's get to it. So now, now that you guys have played around with this a little bit, I'm going to move some of these sticky notes around right now just so we can get them out of the way, and some of these icons. So we can get them out of the way, because we're going to be working on a board. So give me a second. I'm going to summon you guys in 2 seconds to my board here. Let me just get it bigger for you guys to see. And again, with this, you don't have to, if you're not watching the screen share, that's fine, because you'll be able to follow along with me. So I'm going to summon you guys. Come and follow me here. Let me see your mice. All right, cool. So thank you so much for following me. Yay. Okay, so let me explain this future trend. So what I want you to do is, for each of these columns, I want you to think about a trend that will be changing the industry in the next 3 years. So I have that up here. So I'm going to put I'm going to put one up here. Let me make my Post-it note here. I'm going to make it smaller. Give me a second. So my trend I'm going to call it e-leadership, and I'm putting it under business. That's the trend that I think is going to be changing the industry in the next 3 years. I'm going to add an icon to it because it's going to be bomb. And it has the potential to blow up too if not done correctly. So what I want you guys to do is start adding your most relevant trends you think are going to be changing the industry. Make sure to add your text inside. And please use new sticky notes. If possible, resize your sticky notes and add those trends. I'm going to put a timer on because I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. All right, have at it. Remember, we're looking at trends that we think are going to change the industry over the next 3 years. So we're having a 3-year outlook, okay? I'm going to move some of these other notes down. And we're going to be up here. You have 4 minutes left.
Sorry, how do you add text to a note?
So if you click in the note, if you put the note, if you add a sticky note, right, and then click in the note, it'll give you a bar and you can type in it.
A bar.
It'll give you like the text bar to be able to type into it.
I've been clicking in it and I'm not getting that at all.
You're not getting a text bar? Okay,
No.
hold on, let's try this. Where are you?
I'm right. Can you see me here? I'm the big purple one right underneath your e-leadership.
Okay, so you're right. Oh, you're this thing? Oops.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's locked. Let me see. Try to release it really
I wasn't
quick.
able to make it work.
I'm sorry?
Even in the previous, where we were playing around, I couldn't make it work.
You couldn't make it work in the previous one. Are any of you having trouble with it? So you should be able to click, and do you see once you double click, it has the cursor inside of the sticky note? Try adding a new sticky note to see if that helps. Because I think for some reason it may be locking.
You see me resizing a yellow one right next to it?
Yeah, I do. If
Okay,
you double...
yeah, I'm double clicking in it and nothing's happening.
Huh, interesting. Okay, let me see if I can help you here really quick. Let me check your permissions. Let me delete this. Let me check this really quick. Okay, try adding just text. So if you click on the sticky note on the icons up here, the first icon, it says text. You can select one of the text bars. See if you can select one of those. And if it'll let you type. I would recommend that everyone else use sticky notes because we're going to be voting, but see if you can type. Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah, that's working.
Okay, cool. And I'll drag you onto a sticky note once you're done, okay?
Yep, and if I could spell right.
That's cool. Don't worry, we'll get it figured out. Okay, guys, so remember to put your categories, your trends under the correct item. I see e-learning. I wouldn't put that under business. I would probably put that under technology. Remote work innovation is a good one. Diverse audience, is that a behavior? Is that something else? We don't have anything under learner behavior yet. You have 1:36 seconds. Okay, any learner behaviors, anyone? Do we not know about learner behaviors? In the next 3 years, I think that the current world situation is going to change learner behaviors. I'm going to add one. I'm gonna move your text down so we can see it. I'm gonna put it on a sticky note because I don't want anyone to like, I wanna make sure that we can vote on you also. Can we vote on you? Put a sticky note so I can move it under your text. Okay, how about talent demands? We have 9 seconds. So I'm assuming this is under remote accessibility. All right, so it's time to wrap up what we've done so far. So now what I want us to do is let's take a minute and look at some of these trends that we are predicting will change the industry over the next 3 years. I know this can be kind of interesting and challenging also to think about these trends, right? And what we think is going to happen over the next 3 years. But this is the mindset that you have to have. You need to be looking at future state and being on understanding where the business is going in order to be able to have an impact on the business. So now what I want us to do, right? I want you to look at all of this. Hold on, let me move this up so we can vote on it. It's under the right. Oh, why isn't it working? Okay, this one does not want to cooperate with me, so I'm just going to put it over right here. Let me bring it to the front really quick. There you go. Okay, so I just switched it. So what I want us to do is now I want us to look at all of these, right? And are they in the right categories, right? Are they placed under the right categories? Do you think that they're placed correctly for the purposes that we're thinking about as far as like future trends? Would you move any of them anywhere? Would you add 1 or 2? Feel free to add 1 or 2 if something just came to mind, because then we're going to start voting on these to figure out which are the trends that we think are going to have the most impact. So just I'll give you another minute just to add some more and evaluate these and you know, give it some thought. Do these look right? Are they categorized right? Would you move the categories? I'm going to start a timer. Would you add anything? Did something just come to mind? And if, again, if you're having issues with the sticky notes, try adding text. It's the first icon up here that opens all the sticky notes, and you can use the text boxes. Is anything jumping out at you guys from these trends? Do you see something that has been probably looming and you think may start to come out? Can we unmute everyone?
Everyone is unmuted.
Okay, so you guys can come off of mute. Feel free to, you know, unless you have a lot of background noise, feel free to come off of mute. Let's have a quick discussion on this. I like things to be interactive because I think it's important to have discussion. We learn a lot from each other, and you guys have some really good insights. And, you know, hone in on your superpowers, hone in on your strengths to really identify these trends and talk about, you know, what's the potential impact. All right. So now what we're going to be doing, guys, I'm going to enable voting, and I'm going to show you how voting is going to work. What I want you to do is, now that you've had a minute to look at these cards here, we're going to vote on the cards that we think, or the trends that we think are going to have the most impact in the next year, okay? So let me just enable voting here. Where's my voting tab? Nope, hold on, sorry. I have oh, it's over here. I'm going to start a voting session. And to vote, what you're going to do is you're going to double click on a card. And you can vote as many times as you want. And voting is going to start right now. So to vote, you're going to click on one of the Post-it notes. You can double click or shift click to remove your vote. And let's begin voting now. So to vote, again, you'll just click and the vote will appear. So go ahead and vote which ones you think are going to have the most impact in the next year. And hopefully we're all here. Are you guys able to vote?
I just voted and it was fine.
Okay. I'll give you a few more seconds to vote. So I see that there. Okay, thank you for voting. All right, who needs a few more seconds to vote? You can come off of mute, use your voice. I don't bite.
I'm not sure if I'm doing it right.
So just click on you can just click on a card and it will tally your vote on it. So just puts like a little dot on it.
My screen keeps jumping when I do it. I don't know why.
Okay, which one do you want to vote on? I'll vote for you.
I wanted to vote on remote work innovation.
Okay.
That's under business.
Okay.
And then remote accessibility, I wanted to vote on that.
Okay, I already voted for you on that one.
And then e-learning.
E-learning. Okay, it looks like I can't vote on e-learning, but we'll count it as a vote. All right,
Awesome.
I'm about to end voting, guys, and let's just see. I'm going to end the session for everyone so we can see the results. So here are the trends. If you guys are looking at my screen, in the next year, the one with the most votes is the remote work and e-leadership with 5 votes each. Next category is remote accessibility and documenting rather than creating. That's a huge one. Those got 3 and 2 votes, followed by work-life balance, adoption of Teams and Zoom. So I'm going to give you a second. If you want to take a screen grab of this, you can. Let me see if I can put this so it's easy to get a screen grab. I wonder if I can zoom out. I won't zoom out on the trends. Okay. Take a quick screen grab of this if you like. These are the trends that we have identified as being the trends that we think are going to have the most impact in the next year. So I'll do a screenshot also so I can share it with everyone. Okay. All right, thank you for participating and voting. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to move everyone over here. I want you to just look at the instructions here really quick. I'm going to summon you all. Don't add any post-it notes. I just want you to kind of pay attention in this section, because then I'm going to release you to then to do the tasks that we're going to do next. So we're going to take the 2 or 3 top trends that we brainstormed, and we are going to then start to brainstorm opportunities and threats. I want our opportunities to be on green Post-it notes, and I want the threats to be on red Post-it notes. Does that make sense? Just want to make sure that everyone's okay with that. And our 3 trends that we're going to work on is remote work innovation, e-leadership, and remote accessibility. So I am going to move those 3 Post-it notes. Let me just zoom out here. I think I'm going to zoom out here. Let's see. Here we go. Oops. I'm on the wrong screens because I'm not even, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to move these Post-it notes to another section of the board where we have a clean slate.
Can you clarify what you mean by e-leadership?
Yeah, so e-leadership is this virtual leadership, like leading virtual teams now. People are like, just because you can manage people in person doesn't mean that you can manage a virtual team. That's a lot more difficult to do than people most realize, because managers are used to being able to look over your shoulder and tell you what to do and delegate your work and kind of control your work, and you get those managers that are just like neck breathers, right? So that's what we mean by e-leadership, is this having to manage teams remotely, but also having to manage projects remotely with your clients, whoever your clients are. So now what I want us to do is, I have the 3 categories here that we're going to be kind of brainstorming the biggest threats and biggest opportunities. I want opportunities to be in green, and I want threats to be in a shade of red. You can use whatever red. These are my 2 green and red. So opportunities and threats. So I want you to, for each of these 3 categories, figure out what are the biggest threats and the biggest opportunities for these 3. So let me summon everyone to make sure we're on the same workspace and go for it. Make this a little bit bigger so you guys can view, have more space. This is a pretty big workspace, so you can actually, you have more space than you think you do. Remove some of this off. And I'll zoom in again. E-leadership, I see micromanagement. That could be a huge problem, right? And we'll discuss a lot of these. And remember, we have work innovation also, remote work innovation. Who posted that Post-it note? If you can tell us what you mean by that. You can come off of mute and please share for the remote work innovation.
I did. My bad. I had to step away for a minute.
That's all right. What do you mean by remote work innovation?
I was just thinking of, trends, with COVID and everything. A lot of, the workplaces are trending now towards, remote work. And I think this is something that's going to remain permanent. So there's probably going to be, I'm just thinking out loud, there's probably going to be a lot of changes to the technologies we use at the workplace, spread across, all the different industries. Because it's interesting to see how the different industries, despite, the perception in the past that, remote work was not really achievable, but COVID forced a lot of industries to change how work is done. So I think there's going to be a lot of innovations as far as, how the workplace is going to look like in the future, as far as maybe 4-day work weeks, the platforms that people use to, perform their processes or their tasks at work. That's what I was referring to.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, right? So that's different than remote accessibility. That's actually a direct business impact. Who put the sticky note on remote accessibility? If you can share a little bit more about that and what you were thinking.
That was me. Based on my personal experience with our team, just thinking about how a lot of our training has been instructor-led, and traditionally we think about some of the skills our workforce needs almost require them to be in a classroom where they can be seen and measured. Being able to reconstruct some of the classes in order to make them accessible by everyone, and also finding ways to convert that content to something that can be accessed remotely with the same quality.
Okay. Interesting. So I see that we can come up with a lot of threats for some of these. And so we're going to give everyone a few more minutes to come up with threats and opportunities for these. And then I want to have a discussion with you guys as to like what if you can share like your thinking behind the threats and the opportunities, and then we'll talk about how can we help to mitigate some of these to drive innovation, thinking about your own superpowers and your own skills that we identified in the SWOT analysis. All right, this is good. I'm going to add one myself here. I'm going to actually move my green card here. All right, guys. So great job on sharing these. Thank you so much for participating. As you were thinking about the threats and opportunities for each of these, what was going through your mind? If you can come off of mute and just share, like, what were you thinking as you were trying to really think about these different opportunities and threats, and what do you think it's going to mean for the future?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Karia. So for me, it was an odd exercise only because my team and I have been working remotely for years. So but what we were seeing is our clients who have gone from office settings in the last year to remote work, it's working with them and showing them how to. And so, technology, the e-leadership, they're trying to learn how to manage in a new way. And the nice thing is, because I come from a team that has been doing it for years, being able to share that. So finding people who have been doing it successfully and then sharing that information. Accessibility. The biggest thing we found there is that they all have accessibility, but what they're having is they don't have the technology skills. They never had to work remotely. They've never had to be in a team meeting outside of the office. So, sometimes you have team meetings even when you're in the office. So that's been interesting. And that's been one of the things we've been fighting with, just not even for developing training, virtual led, the e-learnings, everything is getting them used to using different software and accessing it and learning how to move around and navigate in it. So that's been a challenge. And then for remote
and that
work
sounds interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
And say for remote work innovation, working virtually in teams, I think that's going to be huge, is being able to teach them how to use the software that's available to them and to work in it virtually, and that they can work with their coworkers, together like they were in an office, like we're doing right now. Just expanding that thought, because this hasn't had to happen before. And I know for some of my clients, because of the last year, they found that they may not need brick and mortar offices anymore, and they're actually closing some of them. So those people will never go back to an office. So.
How do you think that impacts your work overall? Like, is your role changing? Do you find that you're having to flex your skills differently?
Yes and no. So I'm actually a consultant. So I work with a large corporation and I consult with my clients on, problem solving, right? And so I'm looking at ways to figure out their learning needs and problems, and I'm looking at everything. So So I've already been doing it. Only thing is now I'm not doing an instructor-led, right? It's kind of moving around that, but now we're moving it to virtual instructor-led. So it's presenting it differently and trying to show them what is out there, like all the things we can do. I don't have a ton of knowledge in VR and augmented reality, but I have a team who does. So I'm like, hey, we can do this. Let's think, what else can we do? But what I'm finding is interesting is I'm meeting with like subject matter experts with my clients, and their subject matter experts is that they might have knowledge, but the next level down, like the actual people in the weeds, they don't have the technology. So they're like, well, how do I upload? Or how do I join this meeting? So I think my superpower was patience. I have a lot of patience.
So I'm going to ask you, so from an innovation standpoint, right, because it's okay to help one or two people. How do you scale that? Like, how do you think big, and how would you add some scale to that to help not only one or two people, but help your broader client base without you having to do that hand-holding?
We found, so what I've done, because my client, they went from offices to the virtual thing like overnight, right? So chaos.
Mm-hmm.
We found people within the organization who were basically your leaders, right? Your people who jumped on the innovation, who were like, yeah, I can do this, I can manage this. And then we built some very simple things that we could send out through email. Because we knew that the learners knew how to use their email. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you have the whole moving from Skype to Teams, right? Because Skype's going away, Teams is taking over, and they're like, I don't even know how to get into Teams. So doing little simple things, using some gamification, using some products like the Game Agency or Kahoot to send out little things like, here's how you get into this, just little phone app type things.
Yeah. Okay.
To get to masses, but simple. I mean, everything was simple. Nothing that required more than, a paragraph or a question or just small doses, because when we sent them something larger, the calls would just start, your emails and your help desk went crazy. So.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for sharing. Okay. I'm going to pick on someone else. Let's see. Barry, I know you have some
Yes.
stuff up here. So when you were doing this exercise, what jumped out at you most, and where do you see the biggest opportunities?
So I was struggling to use the tool. So I was spending a lot of time on trying to get stuff in there, and it was working slow. But something that didn't end up on here because I didn't have enough time and didn't kind of know how to verbalize it in like one word or two words.
Mm-hmm.
Is part of an innovation team at my company, and we just before this meeting, I came out of a meeting where we're talking about what you would call like an adjunct professor type of a concept. We have like 50,000 people in our company, and the learning team is a very small team. So we're like, how do we scale this? Because we're moving so fast with things that we need the knowledge inside the organization to explode. That's where the document rather than create is coming from as well. And so I think one of the things that we're needing to become okay with is, one, people outside of the learning industry creating learning content, and two, accuracy may not be the right answer, but completeness of content may be something that we need to be thinking about, that it might take 3 or 4 people creating content from different areas of the organization to make that content complete, and it's not going to come from one person potentially. So I don't know how you say that, but I think that falls under maybe e-leadership, because people have to be okay with lack of perfection, and like the video quality that comes out of a Zoom meeting isn't going to be nearly as good as a high quality professional video that we would have made in January.
Yep. So I'm going to put that as a threat. It's a threat and an opportunity, right? So I just put it here for you as lack of perfection. I also added, I heard you talking about building capability for innovation also. So I added that as an opportunity under remote work innovation. Does that feel right to you?
Sure, I'll go with it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How about, I know you typed in the security and access. Is this a threat or an opportunity, or both?
That, I think it's a little bit of both. You know,
Okay.
I'm with a financial technology company, and VPN access is just a disaster for people. I mean, it's creating so many problems and slowing systems down, and it's killing like innovations because people can't use some of the tools they want to bring to the table, because outside of a VPN network, they work great. But now that everybody's in their home and having to connect via VPN, it's creating problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggle with my VPN all the time. I have to turn my VPN off when I'm in meetings, which then means I don't have access to files. It creates like this whole churn, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
so
then the
thank you for
whiteboarding.
sharing that. Yeah, the whiteboarding.
Yeah, the whiteboarding thing. I'm the guy that in a meeting is like within 5 minutes I'm up at the whiteboard drawing pictures. So I enjoy a whiteboard, and so I mean tools like this. I've heard of this tool Mural. I hadn't used it, but I'm really struggling to use it. It's not as intuitive as I would hope, but I see the, and I think that these tools need to get better.
Yeah. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Thank you for sharing. So we're going to do one more. So let's go to Tracy. If you can come off mute, Tracy, and share.
Hi there.
Hi. So where do you see the biggest threats and opportunities over the next year with these?
So we're looking at all of it holistically, right?
Yeah, you can look at it holistically. You don't have to go one by one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody. And, you know, especially when we talk about leadership, finding those ways to make connections with employees and teams, you know, having that one-on-one personal contact really can't be replaced virtually, but there are other ways to create emotional engagement, I think, with individuals, but that is much more challenging. You know, you look at under remote accessibility, you know, we just talked about VPN, but always being on, right? Homeschooling, folks with kids. I mean, I can speak from experience. I have a 1-year-old at home, and it can be very challenging to take care of her needs while trying to work at the same time while my husband's working in the other room, right? So a lot of times at the beginning of the day, we're going, okay, what meetings do you have to be on and make sure you're actively engaged on? And then we're trading off, right? Because not all daycares are open. So there's little things like that that I have to, you know, really think about with our employees and make sure that we're aware of each individual's needs and then the best ways to engage with them overall. And just, you know, we talk about, you know, just different kinds of meetings that we're hosting in general on the web these days. Your audience is so broad that tapping into each piece of diversity is really important, I think, in this time.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for bringing that up. So I actually added the homeschooling and the digital divide. I could go on and on with these. So what I want us to think about is, and I just want to share a quick story on the digital divide. So I work with institutions, higher education, like university and colleges and workforce development programs globally. And the one thing that has come to light, which we knew was the problem, is this whole idea of digital divide. And digital divide is like, who has access to the technology they need in order to be successful. And we found out that just here in the United States, the number of educators that don't have internet access at home is staggering. And so when they had to make this move into a virtual platform, many of them didn't have internet at home either because it wasn't available in their area, right? They live in remote areas, there's no internet, it's expensive to get satellite. And so a lot of these educators were going into the schools in a pandemic, right, just to get internet access. Libraries were closed, so they couldn't go to the library, so they still had to go out. So they were taking risks of their health. And so this idea of a digital divide is huge. And then again, parents at home with young kids who have to be catered to. So I think there's a lot of opportunities from our perspective, right? When you think about your role, how can you help your organization innovate in these areas, right? So thinking about your superpowers and thinking about your strengths and probably your areas of weakness. I don't like to call them weakness so much, but areas of growth. How can you leverage some of those to grow your skills, but also to help drive innovation and align to business needs? Because this is a huge opportunity for people in learning and development and people who are consultants to really help organizations try to operate in this new global setting, right? So we have 5 minutes left, and I just would like to have a discussion with you guys as to like, how do you think you can impact some of these trends? How can you help drive innovation using your skill set? You may have skill sets that you haven't used, but you know you have, that maybe now is a good opportunity. So anyone want to share?
I'd like to share. I think empathy is probably the foundation for every innovation that we propose in trying to solve some of these issues. Without doing empathy interviews and figuring out exactly where our people are, instead of trying to solve from the top down, we can actually find out what the experiences are and then provide options based on what we're hearing from our users and our customers and our people who we're trying to create equity for.
Okay.
And,
yeah. Who else?
I was going to say, along with that, that's a great point. What came to my mind was making sure we're using some change management skills as far as if we do have interest and we're able to try to implement some platforms and so on, you know, thinking in terms of phasing and communicating throughout and not overwhelming folks because we have that passion, you know, we want to innovate, but we have to have that empathy for the change that folks are going to be experiencing.
Yep, perfect. Who else? How can your skills, how can you use your superpowers and your skills to drive innovation in these areas and help also like alleviate some of the pain points, right? Some of these risks. We have empathy and change management.
I'm also right in the middle of doing a lot of these things, and some of the costs are prohibitive for different solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to look at, you know, what are some free options or some lower cost options just to get some tools going, and then maybe in the long term try to get the funding for more expensive solutions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Anyone else?
We probably need to be the experimenters. We're the ones that try stuff, jump off the cliff, see what happens, and show people how they get used. You know, kind of like you're doing here. Like I had said that I had never used this tool, but I'd heard about it. Well, now I've used it, seen what it can do.
Yep. And so you'll go and you'll explore a little bit more, right?
Yeah. It's advocation of new tools. I don't want to say new technology because it's not always technology, but it's new tools and ideas.
Yep. Okay,
and just try it and see what happens.
I'll put that as a separate one too. That's a good one. So you have two. Okay, great. Anyone else? So we have a minute left. What I'm going to do, if you have another kind of idea, please share it. I'm going to take a screenshot of this and I'm going to share it with you guys in the chat. I've shared the first few screens. I'm going to share this one where we've added the innovations also. In a second, let me just make sure I can grab the right screenshot. I have multiple screenshots here. I'll make sure I have the right one for you guys. So you can have a record of like what we did and kind of reflect on this. So I'm going to share, before I let you go, I want to share my contact information and how you can get a hold of me. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is if you text LXD to 55444, you will get, join my mailing list and get a copy of my design workbook. It's another faction of design that I use in workshops. This is just a small part of a larger workshop that I do. Where I help organizations and teams really think about innovating and how do you drive innovation. And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you are on the mural board right now, there is a link right here that says open link. You can click that to open my LinkedIn page and connect with me and send me a request. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was different and innovative and engaging for you, because I hate boring meetings, and I hope I did not bore you. And I hope that it was actually useful, right? Because as I was telling Zizo, is that I didn't want to sit here and bark at you guys and tell you like, this is what you should be doing. And this is like, you know, this is how we do things, because who cares, right? Every organization is different, and you all have very unique talents. I think that's really important to take stock of. So thank you so much, guys. I will share the deck. I'm going to just switch my screen. I'm going to share this deck with you guys. So you have this, let's see. So you can have this SWOT analysis. If you haven't answered the SWOT analysis yet, you have a few minutes to do it using the menti.com. I'll leave it open. I'll leave the voting open so you can go back and look at it. Just jot down the code again if you want to change your mind on things. I'm going to put the link in here again. And just want to close off with thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your day. And I hope that, you know, you will continue to stay healthy and surviving in this crazy world and finding opportunities. I hope everyone stays employed also, and that, you know, your families are happy and healthy. And thank you so much.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Myra, for, you know, this very engaging session. And I want to say, I personally found it very enjoyable. New tools and resources that we can add to our arsenal. So thank you so much for sharing. And, you know, thank everyone else for attending today.
And I'm just going to put in the chat, I'm going to use the 2 tools we used today. So if you want to explore a little bit more.
Yeah, like
so
Barry,
okay.
I had a little bit of a challenge using it. It kept you know, but I'll play around.
And it just, I think sometimes it's bandwidth also, but you know, if you can try playing around with it on your own, there's also other tools that are similar, and you might explore those. They may work better. So,
awesome.
And guys, if you have any questions at any times, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message on LinkedIn. That's the better way to get a response from me. Emails tend to go into a vortex for me, especially my personal email. So a message on LinkedIn, I try to be responsive to everyone. And then for the mailing list, I can tell you, I only send out an email probably once a month when I remember, and I really try to just share resources and any courses I'm delivering that are free, or any low cost courses or conferences that I'm going to be at. So I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.